Mate, I'm just thinking about it. I had a look before on when like the intra-club preseason matches, well, not even the intra-clubs, but the preseason matches started to happen. Joe, do you know we have just over 2 weeks before the first kind of real games of football start happening? How crazy is that?
Pretty damn crazy. You know what else is crazy? You starting without saying hello to everybody
Oh,
after pressing live without putting the countdown on first. It was always
see,
like, wait, what? We're live.
this is what happens when I don't not turn up late. I'm here on time. I forget how the system works, and then it's like blammo. That's it.
Oh, mate. How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another Monday night live stream. It's your boys, the two J's, Double J, coming on to bring you guys some more fun and discussions when it comes to the Supercoach. And we got the Supercoach
What's up,
Hippo in
Hippo?
the chat. Let's go. How's it going, Hippo?
It's 2 weeks to go, Joe. How's everyone doing? How are you going, chat? I'm going to quickly post us up in the socials and we kind of get started for today.
You can do that.
I'm not sure how Essendon's going, Joe, but North Melbourne has finally come back to their home ground of Arden Street after being out of the game for a couple of weeks while the ground was getting redeveloped. The photos looked all right, but players are already getting injuries. I don't know if you've seen the Hugh Greenwood picture. It's been floating around a little bit. Mate, I don't know if his foot's out of the boot or if his leg's out of his foot or what's going on, but it does not look great.
His leg is out of his foot. What the heck is going on? Right. I've had a really busy day today. As I was telling you off the air, I didn't leave work till about 6 p.m. So I've been pretty flat out. Haven't had the chance to look at too much. But I can tell you from an Essendon standpoint, it's bloody exciting. That's all I can say. Where everyone's flying, Nick Martin playing halfback, doing Nick Dacos things. Will Sitter GOAT seems to be a lock. And if you're thinking of Elijah Sardis, unfortunately, keep that idea shelved. I don't think Elijah Sardis is going to be a savior for us in our forward line. I'm just going to have to admit it, guys.
I mean, we're going to have a bit of a video after this, I think, where we'll go through our targets that we're looking through in the buy rounds, but also the players who are impressing. Mate, we don't need Elijah Sardis in the forward line. We've got people like Sexton in the forward line, guys who were good like 4 years ago. Look at these. Even Corey's heard about Sexton playing. So,
bro, Sexton's already in my team. Yeah. Sexton's been in my forward line. I was telling you this maybe a few days ago, bro. I got Sexton in my forward line, and you're like, what's Sexton doing there? I'm like, bro, he's playing half back. 133K rookie playing half back. Get around us, mate. This is the stuff of dreams. This is what dreams are made of. Sweet dreams are made of this.
I really hope that we end up getting a few more of these type of players, because what it does, if we can get a lot of best 22 players at sub 200K, I mean, we're talking about Combin before and a few other things, but we can get all these people at sub 200K, it really means that we can stack a lot of money in other places. We might even see a few teams starting someone like a Tim English. I know more people have started to go towards the Bont as a real option because, mate, you're finishing your forward line with under $2 million, so you've got to spend somewhere.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's possible to go value, crazy value, extreme value all over the ground, but it just feels like you're leaving yourself a little bit too thin because you need to have, I honestly reckon you need to have probably at least 12 genuine keepers in your team. I know you got 40 trades and it's possible to stick in as much value as you possibly can. But at the end of the day, you have to finish your team. You want to have the genuine Uber primos. And if you don't have enough genuine Uber keepers for the whole season, you're going to leave yourself with a lot of work in trading everyone to finish the team. If you can start with like 12 and leave yourself with maybe 10 spots left to fill on the field, then obviously that's a lot more doable than if you start only like 11. Yes, it might look okay. You might have less rookies on the field, but the rookies are the ones that historically have been the ones that made you more money quicker. Whereas mid-prices tended to be a little bit more risky, especially if you're looking at anyone over 300,000. Then it starts to get real dicey because you really need them to perform.
It's definitely true. There's a big thing to be said about, hey, let's go and start our must-have guys. Let's go and start our keepers for the year. Even the players who we might be considering going in and out and then back into our teams through the buys. It's definitely something to be said for watch our preseason locks, watch our power rankings videos. Make sure that almost all of your premiums are in there, that the ones you picked for your team, because you really don't want to be shuffling too much. We've had people on the show before. We've had people in the comments come out and say, cool, I started off with, 14 players injured for the year. Imagine if you've got to finish your team with 20 plus 30, let's say 25 trades, because you've gone 11 premiums and a lot of them aren't keepers for the year. And then you've got a hell of a lot of injuries. You just don't know what's going to happen this year. And it's always better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, 100%. You never want to be sorry. There will be plenty of times where you're sorry. There's no need putting yourself in that position.
Hugh Greenwood's foot.
Oh my God.
Someone managed to get the power shot when it happened. So yeah, it's not a great sight, but I think he'll be okay.
Because he sucks at kicking anyway, so it's basically an accessory to him. We'll read a question here from Ian. How's it going, man? If Sweet starts as solo ruck, I'm considering playing him at R2. Ooh, which would allow me to upgrade my 4 primos who have early buys to better primos without early buys. Have I lost my mind?
Yes. The issue with Sweet at R2 is that at any point during the season, he can basically just come in and get knocked off. If that happens, God forbid that happens when you hasn't had a price rise yet and he's still 150K. I know that the first few weeks are definitely like, you can play around with it and you can have 18 players on field and whatever like that. But you never want to play around too much with the ruck line. Every single year we have played too much with the ruck line. It's always been burning. You always get burnt. Even if you start cheap, at some point during the season, something's going to happen. There's a reason why these guys are cheap. Yep, fantastic. He's come across to Port Adelaide. Have him at R3 if you're going to play him. I think you probably should have him at R3. I think he's going to be one of the most selected players. Have him at R3. And then when you're gone, when you're Grundy, when someone else in your team has an early buy, you can put them on field. And then you've still got 2 rucks. But I think it's way, way too risky to run him at R2. And you're not really getting anything extra on field. Because, cool, you've got 1 more midfield premium. Well, your opposition, the other people in the game, are going to have 1 more rookie in that position, and then you're just going to have an extra premium in the ruck line. Hopefully that makes sense, but yeah, you really don't get anything cost-wise out of it. If you're struggling to get players who are better in your team, maybe look at somewhere else where you can shed some money versus having to go Sweet at R2, because there's some really good value options. Like you can finish off your ruck line this year for about $1 million with Gorman and Grundy. Like, it's very, very hard to pass up, and that's why they're like 60% owned each.
And I would say that Ken Hinckley is, and I can say this because I'm Middle Eastern. Ken Hinckley is a ruckman terrorist. Like, he doesn't care. He will chop and change. He will blow up the ruck line.
There's pressure on him to perform.
Yeah, it's not a sure thing that Sweet is going to be solo ruck, especially now with the latest report. From what I can tell, having read a bit online, Soldo is actually back to training. Soldo, he has his training in the forward line, but Soldo is back. He had a finger concern, and he was all. You don't pick up. Port Adelaide doesn't go and pick up Soldo just to play him in the forward line. Soldo is a better ruckman than Sweet. I don't think that's very controversial. Soldo certainly was overshadowed by obviously the big Nank over there at Richmond. But when Soldo's had to solo ruck, he's actually done a really good job of it. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of chopping and changing in that ruck line, and even having him at R3. I know we're saying if you're going to have him at R3, but even having him at R3 isn't a sure thing, because we want him to cover those buy rounds when Gorn and Grundy aren't playing. And there's no guarantee that he's even going to be named and they might be rocking Soldo for those games because they've got a big guy in Charlie Dixon who is more than capable of pinch hitting in the ruck. They've got Jeremy Finlayson, who we know has no problem pinch hitting in the ruck. So they don't even need to name more than one ruckman at a time. And if Soldo gets the edge, then good luck to Jordan Sweet. I'm nervous having him at R3, to be completely honest. I'd love to see how Conway goes. If there's any Geelong supporters out there who have a bit of inside knowledge into how secure, how safe Conway's role is, I'd rather have a Conway, to be honest, because at least if I can have that certainty that Conway plays, then I'm more likely to pay up that little bit extra to have a solo ruck as opposed to Sweet, who could be playing with, not even playing all the time. I don't know that much. I don't know that much, God. I clearly would not be, not with this behind me. Where is it there?
At the moment, I'm very happy to run Sweet at R3, but I totally agree with what you're saying, Joe. There is a lot of pressure on Hinkley to perform, especially after last year, not making the grand final, whatever. So he's going to chop and change as much as he can. And I 100% agree with you. That Port Adelaide team has so many good tools in there that they might even just run like an Alir as a second ruck. They could do that because of the backline players they brought in. So there's no pressure as opposed to like maybe a North Melbourne or something. If they were in a similar situation, you could say, cool, Sweet's going to play even if he goes forward and there's a cherry. There's so many good tools in that Port list that, you got to be kind of careful. If he's not locked down the position, he could come out very, very quickly.
Exactly. Cause I have one question. Rosie and Marshall or Merritt and Gawn? Look.
Well, Joe,
go for it.
Do you want to go first, Joe?
All right. Look, I've said my piece on Merritt a few times on the channel.
Yeah, I was just going to reference it too.
Yeah, I think Merritt post round 7 is
first upgrade for Merritt. Upgrade Merritt.
Yeah.
Don't start him.
Correct.
It's like Hinkley. You get him later on in the season. You're not going to play him early.
Correct. There's no value currently at the pick. I think definitely better to get him in from round 7 onwards when our fixture opens up. Bit more outside ability, not playing against some strong contested ball sides. Think getting him from round 7, he'll start to go on a big run. He's always been someone. Merritt's always been someone you target post by. He's always been an incredible run home player. He went earlier last year, being captain of the side. I expect him again now, second season, and he's flying as usual. It's classic Zach Merritt. I think I'm going to aim to try and get him from round 7. Will be the prime time to get him. And Gawn, we've seen what Gawn is capable of. Obviously, without his run home without Grundy was absolutely astronomical, man. He saw Brisbane and I want to drop Grundy.
I think it was a 130. Just like if your ruckman is averaging 130 and you don't have him in your team, you're in a lot of trouble. And the big thing is with Marshall could be a fantastic pod. Marshall 100% could be the best pod ever. But if you're going to go anti-Gawn, mate, you've got some big balls there, Corey, because he's going to be 70 to 80, let's say 60 to 70% owned. And he's going to go big at times during the season, especially early on. Mate, you're going to struggle. You might be 70 points down in a week versus Marshall.
Yeah. And we saw obviously
versus
last year
everyone else in the league.
Yeah. I mean, we saw last year how terrible it was to not have Tim English because he was popping off 130s, and those who didn't own were pulling their hair out. You're going to have Gawn, who you've seen him do it in the past, even just as recently as last year. The only reason why you wouldn't want to go with Gawn is because you probably is only in the situation that you are so stacked, you're so loaded with early buy players that you don't want to have an extra one. But in that scenario, I'd say get rid of a primo from other lines and keep on to Max Gawn, because I think he's going to be the more reliable 120 scorer for you, being a solo ruck for Melbourne, who are a sensational midfield. And you can only imagine that he'd do even better if Clayton Oliver comes back early in the season. So I think there's still a lot of upside. And with Rosie, he's being managed too much. He's under managed loads this preseason. He hasn't been dominant. It's not like he was flying like he was last year. And I think he's going to be playing a bit too much forward. They've got Horn Francis now, another preseason under his belt, away from that surgery that he had to go through. So now he's probably going to be in better shape. Ollie Wines apparently is in better shape as well. So I think that Port Adelaide midfield is going to be really hard for Rosie to have high minutes in there. I wouldn't be surprised if Rosie has some stints playing a half forward because he's so good in front of the big sticks as well. So I wouldn't touch Rosie. If you're going to pick a mid from Port Adelaide, it's definitely going to be Butters. I wouldn't touch Rosie, and I wouldn't start Merritt. So I'd probably say no to either of those, Causa, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, hey, we flagged him in our DPP video, Joe. He could easily come and get DPP early, and then we're very, very, very happy. So, something to happen.
See, Ian's got Rosie because I think he give forward DPP again. And that's probably the one thing that you're going to want.
If that's the case, Ian, if you're saying that, hey, get Rosie, you've got Rosie because you think you can get DPP, go for someone else who you think won't be able to get DPP. Because if he gets DPP, that means that he's going to most likely have a price drop. He's most likely not scoring as much as if he was solo mid. And you might be able to get him, let's say, at 550, 520K come round 6 or 7 versus someone like a Butters who might end up sticking around at that same price. So definitely have some money for Rosie when you want to get him in. But don't necessarily use that fact, hey, look, I think he's going to get DPP as the reason to actually keep him. Or just start him in your team. I'd rather spend the points than actually upgrade him or upgrade into him.
Exactly as you say, Big J. Like it sounds cool, a Rosie with DPP. But what does that mean? It means that he's playing forward enough to warrant DPP. And we don't want forwards. We want non-forward forwards. So if Rosie's getting forward status, then that's not a good indication of the role that he's playing, and therefore not a great indication of the type of scoring we're getting. So sometimes it's almost like you're preemptively selecting a guy because you expect him to have a suboptimal role. What that to me is that you obviously don't want that. It is counterproductive. You want to pick players with upside. You don't want to pick players who you're predicting to have a worse role, which could mean worse scoring. So in that case, I wouldn't go with Rosie, Ian, just based on your own line of reasoning. Watching Joe react to random comments when BJ is talking this serious, then it's hilarious. Mate, we're the yin and yang here, right? We're yin and yang. I'm clearly the chaos around here. And this guy, I'm really bad at directions with the cameras and stuff. He is the Zen master, and I'm the loose unit around here. So thanks for coming on.
I can move me around. Like, is that gonna work? No, maybe it's my live stream.
What are you trying to do?
That's all right. Hey Jen, how you doing? Thanks for jumping on.
Jen,
mate, it's good to be back, Joe. I just tell you what, Supercoach is here. Everyone's here, and
correct.
If you guys haven't already, not saying pause the live stream, but pencil it in after the live stream. Go and watch our episode with DR. It is fantastic. He's a lovely guy, and he gives you guys all the stats, everything you need for making a fantastic team this year. I know that we'll jump on and go and check out his stock market videos, but it is a very, very good watch.
That was for you, God. Brandon, how's it going? Doing well, thanks. A little bit tired. I sort of was in work for a long time today. We talked about Colin there. Sturlsy one. Gee, you're giving me a tough tongue twister there. Who's missing out for Port on CBAs with Wines back in the mids? Like to know your thoughts. I'll let you start with this one. I've been talking a lot.
I think it's a bit of Rosie. I'm not a big fan. I mean, I'm not a fan of Port Adelaide like Joey, so I don't know the intricacy of every single player in the team. But I think in that middle, Wines come in. I think maybe it's a Rosie or Boak, depending on how much. It's a Rosie or Boak, depending on how much Wines is going to play. So yeah, I really think that's those guys. I think Rosie's one of those players that is so silky in that midfield, that so silky in that forward line as well, that you just can't. It's very very hard to pass up.
Yeah, I just pulled up now. Trusty DFS Australia, much love to Morts. Runs an incredible website. All right, let's have a
It
look.
could be Horn
Mate, Bryn
Francis or
Teakle.
someone, but I don't think they're going to do that.
Get around Bryn Teakle, mate. Number 1 CBA attenders.
Yeah, and he got delisted, so
Clearly not. All right, so Rosie was
got a lot of
actually
value.
leading the way when it came to the CBAs. Well, let's have a look and see. When did Ollie Wines start to get? All right, so Ollie Wines started to get a bit. He's interspersed CBAs, but it seemed to be a lot more consistent in the back half of the year. Who lost CBAs in response?
Oak's still there. Ollie Lord's still there.
Boak was already moved out,
Yeah,
to be honest. So it really wasn't him. I
think
think Horn Francis got a bump compared to before. Zach Butters was roughly the same. Connor Rosie. I think Rosie had a bit of a shave compared to the start of the season by the looks of things. But I honestly reckon Wines, and it might be Willem Drew, but I think Willem Drew probably just for team balance maintains his spot in the side, because he's that defensive midfielder that I think everyone needs to have just for team chemistry, for team balance. Plus, they like to give him a defensive role on the best opponent midfielder. So I think Drew stays in there. I think Wines and Horn Francis are both going to sort of alternate between half forward and the center bouncers. And I think that also might include Connor Rosie, especially if he continues to be managed in this preseason and isn't flying. I think Zach Butters, by all reports, is going to be a lock. I think Zach Butters is going to be the number 1 midfielder, I think, in terms of CBAs this coming season is the prediction, I think.
Yeah, I think so as well. Butters, just every training report I see, Butters is dominating. Everything, Butters is dominating. Yeah, it's a crazy one, Joe.
Yeah. Causa. Adam Kennedy could be Gould if playing defense again, and also Charlie Comben could be good. We don't want another Gould. Causa. I don't know if he's trying to say. I don't know if he's trying to say gold, but if
I think he might be trying to say gold. I don't think he's trying to say Gould. Like, mate, picking Gould. I'm okay. I'm okay with not picking Gould this year. Yeah, Charlie Comben could be good. 218, 220K, I believe he is in the forward line. So he kind of fits what we're looking for in terms of picking someone cheap. He's got a really good role. It's just about getting his body fit. So you can have him as a placeholder this year and just be like, cool, his price. If he doesn't work out, there's other options. But yeah, he could do very well for you this year. At least a stepping stone for the first 5 or 6 weeks. That's all you need with these type of players. You don't have to keep, we're not expecting another Zeeble or Aaron Hall or a Sheasel in the forward line from North Melbourne. I'm in Supercoach this year, but someone who can make a little bit of money early could definitely happen.
I know you're a North Melbourne fan, Causa, but man, if we can have a forward in our forward line, Charlie Comben at like 227K on kick-in duties, that is better than Zach Fisher, that we were willing to spend up around 400,000. And this guy could take intercept marks as well, whereas Fisher's game isn't predicated on marks. And if you've watched that Jaden video where we had Jaden Poposki on, where we talk about the scoring, then all of a sudden, Charlie Comben really is going to be, I think, a worthwhile selection, especially if you're going really cheap, I suppose, and you don't want too many primos, like with obviously McRae. Was sort of, I think most people are putting a line through McRae. If you can use that money to get a few players like a Comben, like even like a Harms, for example, that all of a sudden we're starting to hear good things about. So I like Comben. I agree, Causa. I'm a fan. Unbranded, how's it going? Flag Pies, how's it going? Ian says, I think there's a big chance to get a gap on the field in the first 6 weeks this year. I think a lot of it has to come down to your buy structure, I'd imagine, Ian. Comben will not be doing kicking duties, says Creative Photo WS.
I'm trying to find the video of it.
Yes, please pull up the video.
There was a player video that had popped up recently of
Correct.
Charlie Comben taking kicking. So I'm trying to find it if possible.
100%. But yeah, Ian, as you were saying, absolutely a big chance to get a leap ahead. But I think another thing that might separate various players is people might see the extra trades and think, by God, I've got all these trades. I can do whatever I want. I'm going to burn through them. I'm going to finish my team super quickly. They're going to start making decisions that aren't optimal. They're going to make inefficient calls just because they can due to the increase in trades. I think ultimately, just because someone might jump ahead in the beginning doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to end the season very strongly. I think it's going to be a real question of how much cash gen you can get early on, and then you can use those trades to fully cash in on these great cash cows, these great rookies that make money for you really quickly get the turnover going in terms of the upgrades. I think that is going to be the deciding factor. Who can select the best cash cows early on to get your upgrades done faster? If you're deciding to go maybe a bit more mid-pricey, where you need to nail everything simply based on the fact that, there's a bit of risk involved because you've got the extra trades, it's not a problem, that's fine. But if you're going in planning to be sidewaysing premiums out right from the get-go, I don't think that is an optimal use of your trades, and I think that's going to hurt you in the long run because you're interrupting your upgrade cadency. So, Ian, it's not the rabbit that won the race, it was the turtle.
Yeah, it's a big thing as well. We saw last year with everyone kind of burning boosts early. Yes, it was great when that happened, and some of those people did end up, your top 1K and things like that. But if done wrong, if done too hastily, then, mate, you're so far down the hill come, round 10, 11, 12. And that's where, you might have a lot more you might have a lot more premiums than what I've got on field. And I know someone like myself who, yes, did a couple of bad trades throughout the season that burned some trades. But towards the end of the season, I just ran out of gas. I ran out of cash cows. I was trying to do super quick early trades, not getting the full 150, 200K out of a player. Going, cool, I can make 100 quick, 100 gate quick and then do that. You're banking on rookies to score well when that's the case. Everyone still has the same amount of rookies at the start of the season to make a lot of that money. And if you're burning that really quickly, you just might miss out. We've had times when people have offloaded like a Rochelle, for example, and then it's come in and he's made an extra 150K on top of it. There'll be players like that this year, and you don't want to jump the gun too early. I do agree. Come out, trade as much as you can, whatever, make your team worthwhile, but be very, very careful of being one of those people that in the first 4 or 5 weeks has spent like 10 plus trades, because it can really, really come back and hurt you, especially with some of the new things that's happening, especially with the changes to potentially tackling rules and concussion rules as well. Imagine if they come in and say, cool, now concussions are 3 weeks instead of 2 weeks or 12 days. Where's your trades to be able to go and flip these players? No, sorry, round 2, round 3, round 4, you spent all your trades. So now you're stuck with Jack McRae or someone else early on the field that you just can't survive with. No volume, Joe.
It's all right. It's all right. Massive thanks to you, God, for hooking us up with this. If you haven't subscribed to Supercoach, God is a superstar. There you go. Kick in.
Charlie
from Comben. Get around.
Preseason games, but it does look okay. North Melbourne need a player in that back line who can kick very, very well, and he can kick long as well. So he might not take all the kick-ins. We're not saying that. But if he takes, let's say, 3 or 4 in a game, because we know the ball's going to be down that end. If he takes 3 or 4 in a game, mate, you're set. I know that they've basically told him, hey, look, check out a Darcy Moore's game and then try and model your game on something like that. So if it happens, Joe. But You don't want to be the one that misses out on him.
Yeah, exactly. Rod, how's it going, Rod? Clay Hall shaping up at the Eagles, average 18 disposals in 9 games in the waffle. Plus, he's featuring in the match sims. He is playing in that center bounce rotation. He's playing in the mid, and he's actually performed pretty well. Obviously, wasn't dominant in there, but he's been quite serviceable, and he's got some eye-catching moments from reports. So you could certainly do a lot worse than a 117k Clay Hall, let's be real, it's the Eagles. You wait maybe 45 minutes and we'll get news of another injury coming out of the Eagles. Like, there's something cursed in the water over there in WA. Like, it's ridiculous. So I honestly reckon Clay Hall could be in a lot of people's sides. Is he in my side at the moment? Not at the moment, but if I needed another 117k rookie in the mid, then Clay Hall could really be him. Probably either out of him or Simpson or McAuliffe, I think his name is, coming out of Richmond, who dominated pre-sim, match sim. We'll have a video on all these people, don't worry.
Yeah, I think it's either, for me, Clay Hall's in my side at the moment, and then maybe like a Cooper Simpson or a Jai Clark, depending on how his body goes, might end up getting kicked out. There's a lot of space similar to a North Melbourne, right? There's a lot of space in West Coast team for these young rookies to come through. We saw Hawthorn do it quite well last year with our Weddles and our Samus Mitchells and a few other ones. Clay Hall could be that player for us this year. The good thing about Hall is that it's not like we've only heard about him now. It's not like we're only going to hear about him 2 weeks before the season starts. People were talking Clay Hall ever since the draft, being like, this guy is good. He's going to play. He's going to do really well. So, yeah. There you go. Jack Darling hamstring.
Oh, my God.
I saw that too.
I did not know that.
Yeah, you didn't know? I thought that's what you were referencing, being like, yeah, another one got injured.
No, I just expect another injury. I didn't know an actual injury came in. Oh, my God. Thanks, Colin. Yeah, honestly, the water's cursed at the West Coast Eagles. Bloody hell. How did that even happen? But I like
talking about the ground. Maybe like they'll have to get someone in and actually like have a look at it, because it doesn't happen with the other teams that are there. It's only him. Yeah, and there you go. Yep.
Maybe we should stop. We should stop talking about them. The more we talk about them, the more we're gonna hear another one down, another one down. Mayday, Mayday! Like, bloody hell, it's unbelievable.
Not good.
Brad, it's Brad, the Supercoach Pro. How's it going, mate? You're looking like a Greek god as always. Hope you're doing well. More Tinder dates, mate, coming in for you. Wouldn't be surprised that you turned down another 3 birds over the last 3 weeks. You're a handsome man, Brad. If you haven't subbed to Supercoach Pro, head on over and check out the pro himself.
Yeah. And if you guys haven't subbed to SDS Supercoach as well, make sure you try and jump on there and have a look. We're trying to get Steve to that magic 1K mark. It's nothing for you guys to do the sub. Obviously, you don't have to pay any money for it or anything, but it really does help out the content creators. We had people last year who did that for us, and kind of just sharing the love a little bit around.
100%. Stephen Suter, how's it going, Steve? Do you think some super coaches have short memories? Seeing Fife and Yo insides didn't go so well last season.
Yep. And they're just clickbait articles, mate. People come out with pick Fife, and then that's it, really. So, yeah, it's a big watch and see. I think Fife probably has 1 or 2 good years left in him. If this is the year when that happens, then fantastic for us. We don't have to keep him for the whole year. Similar to the Jack Zeeble a couple of years ago when he was forward eligible and then made the move into the defense. It is different, but hey, Nat Fife, it's February when Nat Fife stories start coming out, Joe. But how good. Remember this time last year, he was surfing on his surfboard. There was no COVID in WA, so they were fine to do other things. And yeah, that really worked out well for his season, didn't it?
Yeah, look, I mean, as you say, very short. The thing is, Stephen, they've got short memories, but at the same time, long memories, because they forget that Fife has played 16 games in 2 years. But they remember from 3 years ago and before how good he was. The problem is no one's denying the man's greatness. No one's denying the man's talent. One of the greatest players to have ever our
Oh, you
eyes.
have to be good to win a Brownlow.
Mate, had he played for a Victorian team, I swear to you, he would then finally get the recognition he deserves because he plays for a Western Australian side, and things aren't super amazing between us here
Yeah.
on the East Coast and the West. He would get so much more attention. This guy is an
Mhm.
absolute freak, Nat Fife. He's a gun, but he's a his good days can stay in the past. I'm not going to pick him now when he's at the end of his career, body failing him all the time. I wish him well, and those who want to own him, good luck to you guys. You got bigger cojones than I do. Um, that's all I can say, really. Even Yo, 10 games last year, 5 games before that, 12 games before that. Like this is not a, like
It's not an
I
ultra
don't know.
consistent
It's
player. And that's why you're getting them at cheaper, right? Like you're getting them at a cheaper price because they haven't scored well and they haven't played a full season. So if that's the type of player you want for that price, go for it 100%. Um, just, we don't want to see you guys on the stream in a few weeks. Let's say round 4 or 5 when Elliot Yo's probably made 20K and then it's like, oh, well, I've got to trade him out now. See you later.
Yeah, I mean, you got here, like, for example, our good friend Cheese. 5-star 2015. Forever made me a fan of this dude. Absolute legendary performance. Could have rivaled Dusty if he didn't fizzle out near the end. Like, he's up there, man. He's up there with the greats of the game, but ultimately, we don't have to pick the best players of the game in order to be good super coaches. We just need players who play certain roles in order to give us decent points. And a lot of these players aren't in the best handful in the game. We just want certain players who play a certain role in certain areas of the ground. As if you watched the video that we did with Jaden, you'd see players who play in the forward 50 and the back 50 get a 20% bump on their footy actions compared to if they did it in the midfield. So, Elliot Yo, if he's playing exclusively on the ball, you're going to have to hope that he can find the ball and tackle enough to overcome the deficiency, that minus 20% per stat. And as long as his injury history hasn't been sensational, that's a massive risk to take, I think.
Yeah. Every week, you're like, Elliot Yo took a bump. Hold your breath. Next week, Elliot Yo took a bump. Hold your breath. Like it's gonna hurt, man. It's really something that I have enough headaches in life. I don't need more headaches in Supercoach because I know I'll have headaches this year. Like that, it's not going to happen, but you just don't want more and more if you can avoid it.
Correct. Ricky, how's it going, Rick? Is one primo forward viable? I think it is. I think this year is the complete opposite to last year.
Yeah. There's a few players that you want to put him around with. If you go
You still there, Big J? It's just me. Big J disappeared.
I have seen some teams that have gone less in the forward line, who have gone like 5 rookies. And I'm just like, mate, it's too much.
All right, so it's not just me. You're lagging out big time, mate.
Me?
Yes, you.
Oh no, that's not good.
Oh, I think you're good again. I think you're back in action.
All right.
I'm doing one primo forward. I wanted to do one primo forward for the longest time, but I kept feeling like pressured into the mistake of what happens if McRae goes big. Really, I just wanted any excuse to not start McRae. And then the hammy news comes out, like, yes, I cannot start him. I can fade him now. So
players getting injured.
I know a lot of players getting injured. Stursley again. Heard from a Cats watcher he's going to be the best ruck in league in 3 years. He thinks it will take over from Stanley at some point this year. This is Conway. Hopefully he starts early. Hopefully we get him early.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? Is that it might be great if he's the best player ever, but if he's not playing early, kind of stuck.
Yeah, I had no idea what was going on, Cheese. That was the most bizarre thing that happened there.
I'll have to rewatch the stream and just be like, what happened halfway through? I'm like
40 at the 40-minute mark, technically. Yeah, it just I don't know. It felt like the Shining or something. I don't know.
who knows?
God. If you haven't subbed to God, go and pray and then sub to him. Merit is never a starting pick. Every year is referred to as an upgrade target. Yep, 100%. Agree with that. Brad, wouldn't have Fife or Yo big traps. You're preaching to the choir, Brad. 100%. I agree with you. Causa, I'm still stuck on a fifth mid is the problem. LDU I still like as well. And you'll find a lot of people like LDU, Causa.
Yeah.
I know I do.
Yeah, I've got him in my team at the moment. I mean, talking to the 47 people that are on chat at the moment, you go and start the risks. Last year, people started English. English did very well. This year, LDU looks to be one of those risks, maybe a Fife as well, but I think it's a bit different when they're premium level because you can always sideways them. LDU looks the goods, has come in, is going to dominate that North Melbourne midfield, is going to be one of the people who does very well there. No one's going to take the ball off him. Mate, you got to start this guy if you can. And no early buy as well.
I love it, bro.
Oh, that's nice. Thanks, mate.
That's such a nice thing to say. I don't hate you. That's such a beautiful. Have you heard a nicer compliment, Big J?
Mate,
Brad doesn't hate you, man.
I don't hate you either, so that we're on the same page here.
I love it. This is so good. God, you need 6 bids, I think, if you want to start Rosie. If you think you will get forward DPP, yeah, no, I wouldn't even go there. God, we've sort of already answered Stelzi's question about that. Cheese, Supercoach Pro, you want to jump on the Fife train deep down.
Yeah, exactly. And it's those people say Freo. It comes in Freo, early buy, done. Like that's the reasoning as well. Imagine if Fife had like the round 3 or 4 buy, no one's picking this play. Like it's just not happening.
Oh, no way.
Early buy, no early buy. Mate, people just come out for his biceps, Joe. That's all it is. It's Fife on the biceps.
They need to get on some Fife insurance, man.
I don't know what happened in 2022 with Fife. Like, no facial hair, no facial hair, no facial hair. 2022, and then back to no facial hair again. So the midlife crisis halfway through the preseason for Fife, and then
I inspired him. With the goatee, man. He wanted to channel his inner Joe, and unfortunately, it blew up in his face, and he only played 7 games. So it's pretty.
Yeah.
Don't copy me. Cheers, Causa. Much appreciated, man. Yes, thanks, God. Really appreciate it. Brandon. Yes, 100%. No one can wait. Globes,
Brandon,
how's it going, my friend?
You've got 2 weeks to go, and then you can start watching footy again. So I'm very, very happy.
Exactly. Globes is asking Dawson versus Laird, and Brayshaw versus Parrish.
Dawson versus Laird.
I've got Brayshaw and Parrish in my team, actually. I've got both of them.
Yeah. And you don't have Laird though, do you?
No, I don't have Laird anymore. I've had to sacrifice a bit in the primo front to ensure that there's a lot of great rookies now. I've jumped on Caleb Windsor. That footage of him from Melbourne looked unreal. I've jumped on Sexton. Obviously, still got Finn McRae and Darcy Wilson. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I've had to shave a little bit, but I think the Dawson versus Laird debate would have to come down to how Adelaide are going to play this year. Are they going to continue to be very stoppage heavy, or are they looking to change things up and to move the ball with more pace? I know historically Adelaide have been very happy with increased stoppages. I think they're a top 4 stoppage team in the competition. And I don't see why they wouldn't want to be when they've got players like Crouch and Laird, who they've had Sloan, some really strong contested ball winners, and they've also have got Rob, who's a very strong ruckman in his own right. So I can understand why the Adelaide Crows used to play a more stoppage-heavy team, but now they've got Rochelle, now they've got Pedler, now they've got Dawson, now they've got Rankin. They've got some more outside run in that team, and we've seen the game want to move faster. The best teams are the teams that were capable of moving the ball quicker, challenging opposition backline structures. So I think, based on them wanting to introduce Rochelle in there, introducing Rankin in there, Pedler in there, it seems like they want to move the ball faster, which means less stoppages, which means less positive for Laird, I think, means better for Dawson. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think the AFL just in general, you can see the teams that played slow last year were the ones that got beaten and the ones that got found out pretty quickly as well. So being able to move the ball really fast is something really damaging. It's why Brisbane and why Collingwood was so good this year, why Sydney kind of made fun. I'm going to say Sydney and Adelaide, but why Sydney were very good and made finals as well, because they can just throw the ball and go and go and go and run and quick. So, yeah, as you say, Dawson's a lot better of a player for that kind of thing. It would be my two. If I had to choose between Brayshaw and Parrish, I want to pick Brayshaw, but an article came out today basically saying, yeah, I'm going to be this super amazing player. I'm going to do really well. All these things. I want to be back to dominating. When those type of articles come out, Joe, I start to get weaned off a little bit because I'm like, if the player's got to talk himself up, it only comes in failure. I've never seen a player talk himself up and then he's actually had a good season. I'm not sure about you. So I'm not going to pick Parrish either. So maybe that's saying something.
Did Nick Daicos talk the big game, didn't he?
Not really. I mean, like, I don't know. But yeah, I'm not a fan of those type of players just being like, cool, I'm going to have a really good year, blah, blah, blah. It just feels like it never works out well.
I'll tell you that Parrish, I think, is the one out of those two, because Parrish, you know that he will. I'm not because I'm an Essendon supporter. I try my best to be as non-biased as possible, believe me. But you know, I am only human, and if you think I'm being biased, let me know. But the reasoning that I would give for Parrish over Brayshaw is that Parrish, we know what role he's going to play. Parrish is going to be, without a shadow of a doubt, he is a clearance contested ball winner for the Essendon Football Club. There's nowhere else that this guy will play. Really, there isn't anywhere else that this guy can play, I would say. He's not going to play forward. He's not going to play wing. He's not going to play defense. He is truly entrenched in the center bounces. But someone like Brayshaw, who has a much better outside game, and then you add to the fact that you've got Hayden Young in there, and they're blooding some more players, I think, through the Fremantle midfield. I wouldn't be surprised if there might be some instances where Brayshaw plays a bit more outside, maybe even a bit of wing. I'm not going to say it's going to be his permanent or primary position, but he's so good as a two-way runner on the outside, it could be like a Walsh for Fremantle. And even Walsh, as great as he is, has played some wing. Obviously, it's not his primary position, but he can play that. Whereas Darcy Parish is going to be exclusively on the ball, and his biggest knock has been his disposal. And by reports, he's been working with David Rath, who we brought in as an extra coach this year. He's been working very closely on his kicking, and he's nailing his passes. So if we can see Darcy Parish with a good disposal efficiency, he could be pushing top 8. So I reckon if you're going to pick between one of those two, I think Parish is the pick. Call me out if you think I'm BSing here, but that's sort of my reasoning behind that.
No, that's fair. I mean, like, if a player can't play anywhere else, then they're kind of stuck where they're playing, right? And then if another player can come in and play a different position on field, then that's probably, there's at least a risk that they could end up playing there. So it makes sense, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some people here like Cheese reckons Laird and Dawson could probably average the same, so why not both?
But why not? I mean, there's no early buy either, so you can and just run them the whole way through.
Exactly. And Brad saying that, yes, I did see that. Dawson does average less with Crouch in the side. But the thing is, if they're going to play quicker and less stoppages, that also negatively affects Crouch. And I'm not sure Crouch can't go with a quick Adelaide ball movement side. Like,
Yeah.
he needs them to play contested ball. And if Adelaide going to go faster, Crouch isn't going to give you that historic 105 that he gave you in the past. I think he's gonna struggle to hit 100 if that's the game plan that Adelaide are taking this year.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Some of these players, they're very one-dimensional, and I think that's what's really hurt Crouch in the past. Like, yes, the injuries weren't great, but when you're only good at really doing one thing, that's what you get stuck really doing. We know he's not the fastest player. He's really good in the contested zone, but when you've got to try and make him multifaceted and do different things, it really hurts.
Yeah. Brad, I've had Parrish in my side. His calf, though, worries me. We've said a lot here on the channel. If you're gonna have an injury-prone player in your side, you start them, you don't trade them in. Because if you start them and they then get injured, you just use one trade in moving them out. But if you haven't started them, you trade them in, they then get injured, you've wasted 2 trades. So I don't have a problem starting a Parrish, starting an LDU. We've got 40 trades this year. If anything, this could be the year where you start to take a little bit of risk on players on premiums with upside in your starting selections.
Yeah, and the big thing is too is that if you trade a player in that is a real risk and then having to trade them out, it not only costs you those extra trades, it can also cost you that momentum. It might end up forcing you to trade, use trade boosts if you've got them. If you don't have them, you're even stuck. And it could leave you potentially missing out on a rookie, missing out on a premium at a really good price, or being behind compared to everyone else. And I know someone before was saying, hey, let's go and make sure that, the starting rounds, everything like that could really be a difference. Having these risky players and having to trade them in and out almost is worse for your team and for your season. I've had times in previous years where I've traded a guy in. Oh, yeah, he's had a good season run, blah, blah, blah. Trade him out again. And then having to, it misses out on so much.
Yeah, I agree. Let me I just want to open up. I honestly reckon I haven't seen Darcy Parish look this good. And a lot of the times that Darcy Parish has subsequently suffered a soft tissue injury, it's because he's had a slightly interrupted preseason. And you can almost forecast that this guy is going to get injured. But this year, he hasn't missed a beat. He hasn't missed anything. And I reckon he hasn't looked this good since 2021. And he went 116, which I think is very, very great for the price, I think. So, that's just my 2 cents there. And I like that Brad agrees with me about the Parish selection. Thank you, Brad. Oh, wait, we missed SJP. How's it going, SJP? He's a North supporter. He's locked Combin right in his side. I like to see that. Love to see that.
Yeah, it's something that I'm okay with picking him. It's just the body injury. Like, I can have him in my team. I'll have him as a placeholder now. No worries. But yeah, it's just, mate, it's the industry, the injury history. As a North fan, 100%. I want this kid to be the best player on field, come out and dominate. He's what we need, right? Tom Hawkins getting shut down. Bruce getting shut down. No more 10 goals. I know he's been delisted. That was a joke. But yeah, he just needs it. He just needs to get his body fit. That's all.
Look at that, man. All these guys talking about Combin. You're making me want to start him now. Jeez, guys.
Well, I mean, you've got a month and a week, so you can put him in your team now and just pretend for a while until you get told off. Why not?
Yeah,
Harley Reid, see you later. Combin in, we're done, Joe.
Oh, Jace, just calm her down. Just calm her down, mate. God, how did you boys go in your junior footy senior years? Interested to know. I actually didn't play footy growing up, God. I played a number of sports. I played basketball, played volleyball, and dare I say it, a bit of table tennis as well.
Mm.
I've bit of an all-rounder there. Obviously enjoyed to play the footy on the yard every now and then, but never actually played for an official team. What about you, Jez?
Yeah. No. I never played football either. Always going for North Melbourne, things like that. But sports as a kid wasn't really something that I did a lot of, unfortunately. I'm going to push my kids to definitely do that. But yeah, I never really played. I wish I did, though. And it's something that I'm hoping that maybe I'll find a master's team or something if my body will allow me in a couple of years. Yeah, go out and have some fun with those people.
That's right. You can. I reckon you can still plod me in a forward pocket somewhere, and I can hit some snags from the boundary. Don't you worry about it. I've got some dexterity.
Oh, maybe we should do like I know Shorty's done one and a few of the younger boys have done one. Maybe we should do goal kicking challenge, Joe. We'll go out and we'll do that one day.
Bruv,
Buy a tripod with a camera and then we're done.
The day you see me do that, like Scoop style, you know I've hit rock bottom. Like I've been kidnapped. Like if I ever do that.
That's your I'll never kill myself. I'll make my you'll be like, I'll never make a goal kicking video challenge. If I do, I'm kidnapped. Let my family know.
Yeah, 100%. Call the cops. It's him. It was him. He's kidnapped me if I did that. Kent, how's it going? I've got Noah Anderson. Your thoughts? Go. Start us off, Jason.
It's a no for me. I can be swayed by preseason form, but it's the early buy as well that really hurt. I don't think Gold Coast have the best later on round buy, and I don't think there's a huge amount of value in the pick. Like, it's not like he's 520k. So it's definitely a no for me at the moment, but as I say, I can be swayed. I think there's a lot of stuff happening at Gold Coast, and I think a few of these players that weren't so good are going to come in and do them a lot better. So I'm really wary. Like, there's a reason why I haven't picked Tuke Miller or Matt Rowell or a few of the other ones, because you just don't know. Like, new coach, Dimmer wants to push for finals, and I have a feeling that Anderson fell off a little bit towards the end of the season when Tuke Miller came back in. So, I mean, maybe Joe can kind of pull up the stats there, but that's the feeling that I'm getting. So maybe he's, might be a bit truck, a bit stuck.
Look, Noah Anderson's a talent. There's no denying.
There's no doubt.
He's very clutch.
Yeah.
But as I've said in the past, just because someone's a great player doesn't necessarily mean that they should automatically be in our Supercoach teams. Because there are some sensational players out there in the league as well that play a certain role and a bit more consistent and proven. I mean, we look at his points, I suppose, per season. There is, an improvement. There's a bit of an improvement year on year. But I think it's been touched on, as you say. Tuke Miller is going to be healthy this year. Tuke Miller is flying. And I don't know. Obviously, I've read different opinions online about this. I personally think Tuke Miller is their best outside player.
I think so.
More further than Anderson.
I would say he's their best player, period, to be honest. I mean, just kind of looking across.
Matt Rowell. When Matt Rowell is healthy and he's in full swing and he can win the ball at the contest and feed the ball out to him, I think it's sensational. But I mean, he's still prone to the occasional quiet ones. And as long as you're dropping these sub 80 scores, even, you know that you're gonna get a point in time where he's going to drop in cash and you can get him for less. He's never going to be out of reach because for every 189 he's got a 73. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's never going to be out of reach for you. Plus, he's got that early buy. So I probably wouldn't go there. He's one of the ones you want to keep both eyes on during the preseason and round zero. Kent, but for me, I'm not going there.
Yeah. I think there might be some at least close to better options around that price. Like, I think I'd be more confident picking Brayshaw at a similar price than Knives, which is a bit sad to say, but I'm saying it.
Yeah, exactly. Jen. These have been fighting words, Jen. What? You went Collingwood wins the flag, and then we jump onto YouTube and start challenging me to table tennis. Come on, hit me up, Jen. We'll tee up a time.
We won't do AFL kicking, but we'll do table tennis championship.
Yeah, nah, stuff AFL kicking, bro. It's all about the ping pong, man. It's all about table tennis, or
If anyone wants
volleyball.
to play beach volleyball, I mean,
Damn, it's crazy. 2 Supercoach players ever played, mate.
yeah.
We do the hard work, so you don't have to. God, no, I'm just joking. It's mate. There's so much content out there. It's absolutely insane. There's so many incredible guys out there. Obviously, DR is probably the one that I watched the most before I came into this with Big J. So every time I see him, I always go starry eyed. Love the man to bits. If you haven't watched our videos with him, they're coming. Still the other one, the Brisbane one's to come. We did the beginner series one with DR. Massive props to him. He's an absolute superstar. If you haven't somehow subbed to him, like honestly, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah,
do
congrats
something
on the
with your
5K
life.
subs DR too.
Yeah, 100%.
I guess it's a little bit like there are a lot of AFL commentators that have never played AFL, but they kind of know the background and can commentate and identify different things. There's a lot of AFL coaches in general that have not played the game but understand kind of the back end of things. So yeah, just how it was,
100%. Thoughts on Chapman in defense for some money making? I think he's one of those.
Yeah,
I think he's one of the few mid prices that you probably can start because he's sub 300k. The thing is with him, he's going to have some wing time, which obviously isn't conducive to incredible Supercoach scoring. But having said that, the Fremantle Dockers have been have been okay in using their wingers to score well. Like a Henry, for example, he did pretty well on a wing last year. So you never know. Chapman, I think for that price, I think he's pretty safe, to be honest.
Yeah, he's only priced at a 45, which isn't really that hard to get. I mean, that's only like 2 or 3 touches a quarter. So if he's playing a role where he's actually being used on field, he'll get you some points. The only problem is really if his body does fail him again, as opposed to last year, where in the first 3 rounds there was definitely a lot of options at that price. There really isn't a huge amount. Most people will start at Zach Williams, so that's fine. But you're basically forced to downgrade at that point if the pick doesn't work. You're not going for someone else who's going to jump up to 400k. I'm looking at it right now, and there's not a lot of choices in there that I would be really happy to pick that weren't a rookie-priced player afterwards. So at that point, are you betting on Chapman's body to hold up? Are you betting on his body not to hold up? Or are you like, should I have just picked a rookie and then kept like the 100k or the 80k and then use that money somewhere else? So what do you, if you've got Chapman there, Joe, and he plays a full season, what are you expecting him to score? Like, what are you expecting an average out of him? Does he go 65? Does he go 70? What kind of average are you expecting from him? Because he's not going to go 90. Like, I just don't think it's going to happen.
It's unlikely he goes 90s. I think it's more likely that he'll probably go like 70 odd. I think occasional 70s. He might hit a 90 every now and then. I think it just depends on the breakdown of how much time per game that he spends off halfback as opposed to playing on a wing. Obviously, the games that he's playing more on a wing, obviously would expect to see some lower scores, maybe 60 to 70. But if he's playing more halfback in a particular game, is being involved in the play, Fremantle are losing and he's flooded back into defense to really help out more, could get a few more disposals. And as we know from the Jaden video, by playing in the back line, he's going to get 20% bonus per disposal, for example, per tackle, per knock-on. So I reckon overall he could average about 80. 70 on a wing, maybe 90 off halfback or 85 at halfback. You'd be close to around the 80-point average, I would say, which means that he's a good pick.
Yeah, if that gets him to 400, 450k, then it's great. So Joe says so. Let's start him.
Don't take my word for it, but I'm not obviously not. I don't have a crystal ball here or anything that I can predict. I would have predicted the Tuts Lotto numbers if that was the case. But we'll see how that goes. Cheese, if Tom Cleary gets the wing spot, is there any reason why we pick Chapman over him?
Not really. It's more just, I think at the moment, there's a lot of players trying to play a couple of roles at Port Adelaide versus I think Chapman could come into that Freo team and just start straight away. I think there'd be a role for him automatically. I don't know if there is for Tom. If he has a bad week or two, does a Bergman, does any of the other VFL kids that are coming through, or the Sandford kids coming through, any of those ones will just take his spot. So, yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one there. You don't want to have, like, the risk that I said with Chapman on the pick not working at 250K could be even worse of Cleary, like, not working at 150K. Because you probably pick the best 2 or 3. You might even have to spend more money to get someone good to come in. That's the only tricky part.
I personally don't have either Cleary or Chapman in my side because I just don't want wingers, to be honest. If I'm gonna play a winger, the only line that I'd be willing to have them in is my forward line.
Yeah.
Because the forward line is so shit. Like I'm sorry to say, like the forward line's so bad. I'd even be willing to accept a winger in my forward
Chapman
line.
was in the forward line, you'd be laughing. You'd be like, cool,
100%.
yeah, start starting, let's go.
100%. But I just don't think there is necessarily a need to start either Cleary or Chapman in the back line when I think the backline premiums are among the sure ones. It's like, Sicily, Dacos, Stewart, Young, these guys are going to be top 6, so you can pick them, I feel, fairly freely. And then you've got a bunch of rookies, and then you have Williams as well. And then you've got these rookies like Gibcus, 100%. He's playing every week. He's not missed a session in preseason. There could be even Trezise if you like him. You've obviously got your other defender rookies like your Zach Reed, your Hoare, your Caulfield. I just think there are enough rookies. There's enough value in the backline that are going to score decently well that you don't need a mid-pricer. I would rather the mid-pricer be in the forward line to avoid playing a dud forward rookie on field. I'd feel if there was a place on field that you field a rookie, I have no problems fielding a rookie in the back line because I think they're all going to be decent scorers. But I don't necessarily want to field the rookie in my forward line, so I'd much rather that mid-pricer, rather than be in the back line, let it be in the forward line. Let it be a Harms. Let it be a Billings. Let it be a James Jordan, perhaps. Or
Tom Lynch.
Or Tom Lynch, even. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather that mid-pricer be in the forward line than in the back line. So I'd probably fade both options, Cheese, to be honest.
Yeah, and I know we've harped on about Hayden Young being the best pick in the back line, and he probably is by all reports at the moment, but there are other options there. And if you don't want to go like around that 500K mark, you can go a lot more expensive. So better to kind of lock in someone that you can have for the whole season or close to than risky pick having to do something else.
Yeah. Causa, you were really unlucky with the Tuke injury. He has a great history. He had a great. When was the last time Tuke Miller got really injured before last year? Like, I thought he's got a good track record.
I don't think he has. I don't think he has. So
yeah, 22, 21.
Yeah,
that's unlucky, man. You were unlucky. There's nothing you could do. You couldn't predict it. And
this is why we don't. This is why we don't burn early trades on sidewaysing players who have, a buy in round 2 or round 3, because you could end up having things like this happen or multiple things like this happen. Last year, people had 4. You guys can't understand how much 14 injuries are. 14 injury trades. That brings your number of 40 down to 26. Imagine having to finish your team with 26 trades.
Yep.
Let's hope that doesn't happen. But it's a longer season. Players will get rested, especially in the second half of the season, especially with these teams that are pushing for finals. Oh, yeah, you've got a little bit of a niggle. Cool. You're on the bench. We'll see you later. So, yeah. Try and plan your idea around finishing your team. Cool, I've got 30 trades or 35 trades, not 40, because the injuries will come. They always do it, and it will happen.
Yeah. Steve, do you think Yo can score more than his break even for the first 6 or
What's his
some
break
weeks?
even? Let's have a look.
Look, Steve, to be honest, we need him to play for 6 weeks before he can even beat those break evens.
That's the big thing first, I suppose, isn't it? He's got a break even of 80. 80 he can do, but as Joe says, he's got to beat it. The problem with Elliot Yo is maybe you get 100k. Maybe I don't see him getting to 600k. If he gets 100 average, cool. He gets to like 500 or 550. At that point, for his price, why are you not picking like a Nick Martin for 50k more? Why are you not trying to do something else or downgrade or do something? You're picking Elliot Yo because you're desperate for money. Like, you've got nothing else, and Elliot Yo is like the only pick you can do.
This guy has averaged 9.25 games for his last 4 years. I'm just going to say that. That's all I'm going to say.
Yep.
Steve, do yourself a favor, mate, and stay away.
Joe, it doesn't matter. As long as it's the first 9 games of the season, like that's...
It's not going to happen, bro. It's not going to happen. He plays for West Coast. We might hear news tomorrow that he's injured for all we know.
I know. Alongside everyone else.
Common 1% own. Got him in. Great pod. Excellent.
Another one to look at is Callan Dawson in North Melbourne's backline. He's a bit more expensive, but I believe he started today at 0% own, 190k. I think a lot of people might be on the Toby Pink train or some other ones. I think Callan Dawson at the moment looks to be the guy that's taking the spot as that kind of third. It'll be like an Aiden Core, it will be a Combin, and then probably like a Callan Dawson for your third player. So that's what it's looking like at the moment. We'll wait and see for preseason, but you know, if you want someone who can play for a while, he might be a good pick.
Yeah. Bratsco, I went to back my
comeback in footy this year. Okay.
All right, then. All right, Brad. All right. You've confused me already. Well done. In comeback in footy this year after it had been 10 years due to training Muay Thai and boxing, second preseason sesh in, dislocated my shoulder, getting tackled in the back. Oh, no. Yeah,
it sucks. It really does. And I hate injuries like this because you definitely have those sports where, cool, on game day something could happen. But football's one of those things where I almost think junior footy is more dangerous than senior footy because the people don't care. They just go and do whatever they want. The vent, they get rid of all that steam, especially at like mature age level, where like they don't give a shit, to be honest. Like people just get injured, that's it. So yeah, it's a tricky one. Do it for the fitness, but
Joey is a Donny? A Donna kebab? No, thanks. Steve, Miller, Walsh, Crouch, Guthrie, and Amon. Who is scoring the best? And if we had them, how long could they be keepers before we give them the flick? There's one name, Steve.
Where's the big Nick? In there? Where's
Nico? Huh? Where's Nico Martin, mate? You need
Do you have any Nick Martin footage, Joe?
Oh, I've recorded one where it took a nice mark off. But I don't know. I don't want to show it. I don't want Steve to know about Nick Martin. Actually, forget I said anything, Steve. They're all good. Yeah, don't worry about it, mate. Don't worry about Nick Martin.
Jen's beating you. That's it, Joe. Ping pong, you're going down.
I'm not getting a point. I'm not getting a point. Oh, she thinks she's absolutely flawless. Not a single unforced error, Jen? Really? Oh my goodness.
She'll be nice and hit one out on the full just to like, hey,
clearly
what's
not.
Happening? Apparently
clearly not. If she's going 21 zip.
Joe, what are we seeing from Jai Caldwell this year?
Jai Caldwell is a good man. He's a good young boy. The thing with Jai, he's solid. He just doesn't get involved in the play enough on the outside. And there's quite a few times we'll look at him in training and you won't really notice him. You'll be like, was Jai there? Was Jai good? Like, you have to really pay attention to look closely, and you'll notice that it was Jai at the bottom of a pack that, for example, fed the ball out. He's very non-flashy, and he won't, unfortunately, be. He's not going to be a mainstay in our midfield in terms of the CBAs. I think he's going to play he's going to alternate between playing CBAs and playing a half forward. And it's a bit of what we saw last year, 33% CBAs, very similar with Ben Hobbs, 35%. Perkins had a bit of a run in there with 23%. I think we're looking to get a lot of people going through the midfield, and he's never going to be the man that plods in there. We're going to have a core. Darcy Parish will certainly always be there. Merritt will always be there. He might have some rotation. I think Setterfield, when he was healthy, we can see at the start of the year just how many CBAs he had. Obviously, from this point on, he got injured, so he didn't play. But instantly, first game back after a long layoff, he went straight up to 62% CBA. So I think there's going to be always a bunch of players ahead of Caldwell. And as a result, he's just going to be a role player for us. He'll never be the main guy. And I don't mind him playing a role player role, to be honest. He's had some injury concerns in the past, and I'm happy for him to just play a role and stay healthy for us, to be honest. So I wouldn't be picking Jai Caldwell at all, my friend.
Yeah. I think him, and we saw, who was the one that went to Adelaide, Joe? Do you remember? Around the same time, the young kid starts with H. Maybe someone in the chat will let us know. But it does. No, went to at the same time. Caldwell left to Essendon, and maybe the year before, he was like the first player to leave because he didn't want to accept the contract, and then Adelaide picked him up. I can't remember the name. Starts with H. But it does feel like a few of these pre-GWS players, like slowly, you're starting to feel a little bit why they left or why other teams were. Maybe not like, cool, we're going to offer you $1 million to stay. So, yeah, definitely a bit of a role play for me, I think.
Yeah, not happening. Matt the Memer, how's it going, Matt? Thoughts on this forward line? Jordan, Harms, Reed, not Dersma, not Dersma, Caddy, Manor with Cadman and Wilson on the bench, get an extra mid, not keen on McRae with his latest injury news, and Flanders mid-time.
I don't mind it. Dersma, I think, is a bit of a... He's going to kick a goal every so often, but I don't think you're going to get that consistent scoring. There's a big thing with Supercoach where I say, cool, and Joe's been here as well. We pick our midfielders first. Then we go and pick our defenders. Then we go and pick defenders who are playing midfield, and then defenders. Then we pick our rucks, and then we play, forwards who play forward are the bottom of the barrel players, because you're going to get a 30-40 1 week, and then the next week you're going to come in and you're going to score a lot better. So they're the tricky ones. If Dersma was playing anywhere else in North Melbourne's team, fantastic. Run with him, no worries. But he's going to score you those 20s and 30s. He's going to score you those 40s. He might have a big game or two and get a 90. And, cool, he's got a 90. I'm going to jump on him. It's going to go back to crappy scoring again. He's not going to be as consistent as maybe Rochelle was, because I just think that the forward line's more stacked. You've got a lot of players who are going to play a similar role. He's coming in most likely off the bench. I don't know if he starts. So, yeah, I think there might be a better option. If you can go, who's it? Who's the one you were talking about today, Joe, from Melbourne?
Sexton. Oh, Caleb Windsor.
Yeah. Go Dersma to Caleb Windsor. Save yourself 15K, and I think you'll be so much happier with that forward line.
Yeah, I agree. And to be honest, I'm calling it now. I think Flanders is going to be an F1 for the year.
Yeah, it depends. It really, I think for the guys who aren't getting DPP, Flanders might be the F1. But we cannot predict what's going to happen. If Bont gets forward DPP, Joe, somehow, mate,
he's not going to go.
Flanders going in the bin.
Oh, no. He'll be F2 then. Big whoop. He'll be F2, which is still value for the price. I'm predicting Finn McRae to play the first round and score 80
Potentially.
points plus. Oh, get him on field, Jen. I'll get him on field. Steve, who are you on field starting rookies? I have Caulfield, McKercher, Sanders, and Harley Reid. Very good. Would Sharp from Freo be another good on-field option? Any others I have missed that are on-field options? I think some other on-field options, depending on if he's best 22 or not, could be Roberts. From reports from Sydney, by reports he was playing off half-back in the A team, which is obviously really promising. If he has that role and he keeps that role going into round 0 and then round 1, would be bloody amazing at 150k. So that he's possibly a fieldable option. According to Jen, Finn McRae could be a fieldable option if he's going to score 80 points plus as a rookie in the first game, which is not too shabby.
Yeah.
What else is there? I think Wilson.
I think a Gibkiss in the back line could be one as well. I think there's a few of these backline players definitely where there are some more fieldable options. I'm not a fan of Caulfield at the moment. I haven't seen him mentioned that much, if at all, in any of the training reports. And we're starting to be middle of, maybe someone can link us in chat or say, hey, come and jump on this. This is where it is, right? But it really does feel like he hasn't been mentioned at all. And being this late into the preseason, like it's not December. Being this late into the preseason and your players on field and your rookies haven't been mentioned at all, or not enough that you remember, is almost like a big red flag for me. It's like, cool, you were good, you came over to the side, whatever, fantastic. But it's just spouting red flags. And I'm happy to run him on the bench. There might be better options, but yeah, it's a tricky one.
Realism applies to Young. Now, the thing with Ridley is he's an intercept defender. It's not as... So he's obviously reliant on role and reliant on supply into the forward line, whereas someone like Young, who's going to be playing around the ball, he can win his own ball and he can initiate things. He can get some tackles, he can get some knock-ons, etc., etc. They're just different roles. Playing around the ball in the midfield at center bounce attendances is such a great, very rewarding position. Brayshaw also wrong. I can only have one.
I think Brayshaw. Brayshaw, yeah. I don't know. It's a tricky one. I think a majority are going to go for Brayshaw. I'm going to say Brayshaw, but it really does feel like Sarong can go under the radar a little bit. It does seem like Brayshaw's the one that's going to get the tag or the attention a little bit more than Sarong does. So if you want to do something different, go for him. But I think as Joe's flagged before in previous videos, maybe I'm going to cut him off right here, but as Joe's flagged from previous videos, Brayshaw, it looks like, had a bit of an injury at some different points throughout the season, which meant that he might not have been playing as much time or as much of his preferred role. So when he did do that, he was playing really good. Just something to watch out for there.
Yes, I think so. Sorry, I'm just getting some messages straight to the phone here. I agree, Brad. Obviously, the rookies, there's a lot to play out, but I still think it's possible to track some of them now here in the preseason. Have a look at who's performing well in the match sims, who's featuring more, who's burning up the track, who's likely to feature in round 1. Of course, the final selections will be made a bit later on, but I still think it's important to keep track of them at this point. Hello, Habibi, Hector Glibbo. Boys, how are we? Thoughts on Caleb Windsor potentially playing wing at Melbourne, but don't know if he will start enough games. He looks amazing, man. He looked amazing. I'm actually going to try and see if I can pull up that footage. Where did I find that Caleb Windsor footage on Facebook? It was on Facebook, I'm pretty sure. The Melbourne Football Club Facebook.
The thing with Caleb Windsor is I go back to the things that we knew before, similar to a Clay Hall, right? We knew Caleb Windsor was going to be a great player. When Daniel Curtin was available, Melbourne did not give up their pick for him. Melbourne did not try and trade down. They did not try and do anything. So, hey, look, they love this player. They wanted him from the start. They saw the talent. And as Joe's showing here, he's getting involved.
Kicks the ball out of defense and
Yeah,
then
running
runs
and then
past to get the ball, takes a bounce, and kicks it inside 50. That is what you want to see. Look at this line-breaking ability. Handball, continues to run, presents as an option, gets it again, takes on a tackler, contested handball out. This is, it's really exciting stuff. Really exciting. I think he's the type of player that Melbourne need on the outside to help break some lines. They lost James Jordan, who really was a great player. I think Caleb Windsor, you don't take someone up that high in the draft if you're not going to play him. I reckon he plays, man. And I've got him in my side right now. I just watch this, and it just passes my eye test. He's someone who's happy with the ball in his hands. They're happy to give the ball back to him, and he works hard to demand the ball back. And these are things that you notice are all traits that Nick Dacos has. Running hard, demanding the football, and being given the football. It's sensational. So I've got Windsor in my side at the moment.
There's 3 points I'd like to make on the pick as well. First one is Goodwin loves these kids and he lets them play for a while. Even if they have a bad game or two, he'll keep them on the field. Second one is we know how good and we know the trend of first round rookies starting and playing for a majority of the year. It's not like it was maybe 2 or 3 or 4 years ago where the player would be taken on percentage and on potential and then have to wait for half the season. This guy's a first round pick, top 10 pick. Melbourne are going to play him early. And the third point is look at his body compared to someone, even like a Dersma, who we kind of said, hey, swap Dersma out for him. Caleb Windsor looks like he's a second or third year player already, just for the size of his body. Like, he's not a skinny kid who's just started AFL. He does not look like it, at least. And it's going to mean that against the bigger men, maybe his tank's probably not as good, but against the bigger players, a bump is not going to rule him out for a whole game.
No,
and he plays a crucial role. So that's for, or at least it looks like in that match sim, he's playing a crucial role, is what Joe says.
Exactly. It's really exciting stuff. Globes, I bet you don't have Bud the Dud on your team still, Joe. He's talking about Connor Buderick. Globes, I don't have him today, but it's because of my team structure at the moment, which I will make an updated video on very soon. It just depends how I can get the money sort of set up a little bit, I guess. Ultimately, I want to go guns and rookies, as I've sort of flagged. The rookies are the one that make the money really quickly, and I want to make sure that I've got the best rookies right off the bat, so they can make me money quickly, so that I can then turn them over fairly quickly to get my upgrades going even faster. Because I'm not starting Nick Dacos by the looks of things at this point, so I need to have cash gen ready to go so that I can get him in. I need cash gen so that I can get in Zach Merritt in round 7 right after that as well. So I've got some plans to get some premiums in. I need to get the cash gen really shored up. And I think that's why I'm investing in a lot more rookies in the forward line than I had initially expected.
Yeah, no, 100% agree.
Big James, if Dacos has a price rise, do you think it could go up more than 35,600? That's very specific, James. Very specific. Because that's how much I have saved in the bank to upgrade Stewart to with him. Wait, what?
Stewart. I think you're saying keep Stewart in my team, and then after Nick Dacos' buy, hopefully he's going to drop in cash, or hopefully he's going to be around the mark and I can just flip Stewart to him. I'm not a big fan, and Stewart might be the one that ends up dropping in cash by the first 5 or 6 rounds. So we've talked before about starting kind of plays that might not be the best. I think this one, James, probably could be in that realm of possibility there for you.
I've sort of changed my mind on Stewart. I think Stewart's going to do better than I initially expected. I know the talk of him having increased mid-time, but I mean, if we were to look up Stewart, even in the games where he supposedly had game time in the midfield, if you look at the heat map, it doesn't look like a midfield game at all.
Mm.
I mean, let's have a look. So, where's a game where he's had? All right, look at this game. He's had 53% CBAs in this game for a 152. Let's have a look at that heat map.
Yeah.
Does this scream to you 53% CBAs?
Well, I mean, like, you can still get mid-time and just not touch the ball, Joe.
No, I reckon the thing that makes Stewart, I've actually changed my mind on Stewart, having looked into it a little bit more. Honestly, he's got the best role in the game. He lines up at the center bounce
and then moves backwards,
get a touch, and then just goes back into half back and takes.
Do you think it's a ploy for them to play an extra defender?
100%. Because their midfield's not great, and he's never played midfield. He's not a midfielder. I honestly reckon he might have the most audacious role in all of football. I mean, what's this?
Something to watch. Something to watch over the preseason, maybe.
26% CBAs. This one. 20.
Yep.
What? This is ridiculous to me. I honestly think he's got the most shameless role in the game. He lines up at the center bounce just to move back into defense to get cheap disposals because he can't win a hard ball here. So he'll go to the back line and so he'll have some CBAs and take kick-ins. He's legit the most shameless role in football. Almost as shameless as freaking Nick Dacos, to be honest. So I've actually changed my mind on Tom Stewart. He's in my team at the moment.
We'll see, Joe. We'll see.
He's in my team. That's ridiculous. I hate to say it, but he's ridiculous.
Cheese is saying here, starting both Track and Tom Green. At least they don't share the bye, which is a big thing. It does make it a little bit hairy if you've got like a Billings and Track and Max Gawn, but otherwise you're not in a terrible position there.
I think as long as you don't have, I think 4 or 5 might be the max that you want to have. I think.
Yeah, sorry, God, mate. Pick all the North Melbourne players. We're not going to be that good. Don't do it. It's a trap. There you go. So not keen on Yo. Only looking in for be an option for the first 6 weeks. Yeah, it just depends if he's going to stay fit potentially, but he's basically got to average like 110 in those first 6 weeks. I don't know if he can. Harley Reid, Joe left the track with soreness today. It's an interesting one because he did have those like fake hamstring injuries before Christmas break. So at least he's a good price that you can offload him to everyone. And I don't think you fade Harley Reid unless like he's actually injured. So
damn it, Joe, now I have to get Stuart in my team. Sorry. Look, actually, I was about to say sorry. In fact, I will say you're welcome. Anytime, my friend.
Janko's saying Stuart averaged 118 if you take out the 18 in round 1. That was so bad as well because people thought, shit, he's hurt himself. He's going to be out for 10 weeks. Let's trade. Misses 1 week and then comes back the week later. Oh, mate.
It was supposed to be a syndesmosis.
Yeah, it was. And then it was
meant to be he's out for weeks. Like syndesmosis used to be like a 6-week plus injury at some point. And then this guy just waltzes back into the game like, yeah, no problem. Let me start dominating again. Like, piss off, man.
Yeah. Hatley was the one I was talking about before. Here we go.
All right.
Joe, here's one for you. Let's go 2 players, right? Hopefully we don't pick the same 2. But let's go 2 premium players that you think will go boom and will be too hard to bring in throughout the season. So if you want them in your team, you better start them now. Who's your 2 players?
Look, I'm afraid this might happen.
Yeah.
About Nick Dacos.
Okay. You're not starting him, so that's fine. Yeah.
That's why I'm afraid. If I was starting him, I wouldn't be afraid. But because I don't have him, that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid he goes bananas, and becomes really hard to trade in. I think he's
He
my
doesn't even need to go bananas though. He just needs to keep the same price. Like as
yeah.
long
Well,
as
he'll
he
go
stays
boom. Well, even if he goes boom, no, I reckon there's upside to him. I reckon he does better with another preseason under his belt. Like I don't think there's a reason why Nick Dacos just averages the same as last year. Just natural
Yeah.
progression, I think, would dictate that this guy, and he's still hungry. He's getting
Yeah.
into fights at training. You know what I mean? Like he wants to push standards and drive stand. I know your boy Sheasel, driving standards, but Nick Dacos just came off a flag
Mhm.
and still is going hard at it. So I'll go with my first player being Nick Dacos. Who's your first player?
Uh, I'm running under the premise that it might not be the players that go bang, but also the players who stay around their price and makes it really hard to get them in. Because I know a lot of these 650K plus people, we're all hoping, hey, if you're not starting them, they're going to drop a lot in cash and whatever. I'm actually going Petrarca as my first player. I know that he features worse with Oliver in the team and all that kind of stuff, but even when he does play, he scores big points. And come his buy, he could, like the first buy at least, he could almost be around the same price. Like a break even of a 120 isn't that hard for Petrarca to make every week. Like this guy's just a freak. And in a Melbourne team that maybe is stronger in other areas but weaker in others, I think Petrarca could get put forward a couple of weeks, not for the whole game, but kicks a couple of goals. The average is 1 goal a game, Joe. He's going to make a 120 average, and people are going to have to spend 3 trades to get him in. It's a tricky one.
Fair
Do you
enough.
have another player?
My second player, who I'm afraid to go big, and for me to miss out on them, could be. I know some people in the chat are saying Sheasel, but I'm not going to say Sheasel because I think when Zach Fisher comes back, I think they're just going to play him in that role, and Sheasel is very likely to have a role change. I think he's too good to just be plopped behind the ball at halfback. Obviously, if Sheasel was playing halfback, he will dominate, but I just don't see him keeping that role for the whole year, especially if he's been training mostly mid and forward. So I'm not going to say Sheasel as that guy. Someone who I worry will pop off and I don't have him is McRae, Jack McRae in the forward line.
You reckon?
Because
Like if he gets through all these injuries, he's going to be a hey, watch out type of player.
Because the thing is, I remember this time last year, Tim English was having all these issues in the preseason, multiple soft tissue injuries, again issues about perhaps some concussion issues there. He had every issue under the sun, and it made complete logical sense to not start him, to not go anywhere near him with all those issues, and yet he still popped off. It's just a strain. He could come back, and if he's played on the ball, and if he's played in the middle, I think he can absolutely jump above. He's capable of more than a 99. This is Jack McRae we're talking about here. There's no denying his talent, and I'm setting up my team in a way that hasn't got him in the picture. If he pops off, then that means I'm going to have to try and get him in there because the number of options of good scorers in the forward line are going to be less at the start of the season, which means that those who don't have him are missing out a lot, I think, in the forward line in terms of the scores that they're going to be getting from him, and he will jump up in price. So that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried that in deliberately aiming to fade McRae now, if he comes back and dominates, I might just have to continue betting against him.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I'm not too worried. Like, if McRae comes out and scores a 120, cool. All right, we've missed out on that. But I don't see him being more than like 50K of his starting price. So you can always trade like 2 players into getting him. The player that I think might be a bit of a tricky one. It's hard to say, right? But I'm almost banking on Nick Martin. Depending on how my team goes, I think he's one of those players that always is these players every year. We saw with Sinclair a couple of years ago, he was one of these guys. But Nick Martin comes out, has really good preseason games. There's a role for him. We know his scoring and his fitness, so he can definitely do that. We know how good he is by foot. He could end up being like 550, 600K very, very easily towards the start of the season, and people are going to have to scramble to bring him in.
Mate, I'm not concerned about that.
You'd be happy.
He's in my team. He's in
Yeah.
my team, and I'm hoping he
He's in
pops
my
off
team
as like
too. He's in my team as well.
and I hope he continues to pop off, like I expect him to, because every year I have one pick, that's a mid pricer that does really well for me. Last year was obviously set a go. I know you can say that it was bad, but before he got injured, everyone had to scramble to get him in.
But
and
he had the injury history from being at Carlton as well, right? He didn't play like a huge amount of the games and things like that at Carlton. He wasn't a full time.
Not because of injury, because he was played on a wing.
Okay.
Yeah, because he's not breaking into that ridiculous Carlton midfield that's stacked.
Oh, fair enough.
He's a role player. He's not a star. He's struggled for game time out of opportunity, not because his injury, because of injury concerns. He got a foot injury. It wasn't a soft tissue injury. He actually he suffered a foot injury during the course of last year. But before that, you look at what he was doing before he got injured: a 99, a 147, 82. He was banged up in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Next game, 87, a 91. And then it's sort of the injury started to get worse for him. It became harder to manage, and he struggled to get some good output. But at the start of the season, when he was healthy, I think the guy was on fire, and everyone had to get him in ASAP. So I stand by that pick. The year before that, I had the Lizard Blakey, who did amazing for me to cover for me as well. So I like having these one picks. And I think Nick Martin's a lock for me, God. I absolutely love Nick Martin. The guy's a pig. He's playing the Nick Dacos role 2.0.
There's a lot of players. And sorry for cutting you off, Joe, but
yeah, it's all good.
There's a lot of players this year, and you'll see them in every team. McKercher does it for North Melbourne. Nick Martin's doing it for Essendon. What's his name? Caleb Windsor looks like potentially doing it at Melbourne. Nick Dacos has come in and laid a blueprint for what's successful. We saw it with Sheasel last year. There's a lot of teams that are like, cool, who's our version of this player? I don't know if the Dogs have got one yet, but there's a lot of teams who are like, who's our version of this player? These ones who can run in and like dominate in that midfield. Run in, take some kick-ins from half-back, and take that ball from half-back as well. There's really quick players. So, yeah, a lot of teams. Because if you don't have one, you're almost behind the 8 ball now.
Yeah, exactly. But not everyone is capable of playing that role. Nick Martin is. Nick Martin can kick goals and run the big stick. Nick Martin has tremendous work rate. He's one of the great runners in the comp. He was among the best wingers. You have to have a great tank if you want to be a great winger. So I think Nick Martin has got, and he's tall. He's 192 centimeters. So he can take an intercept mark. He can take marks off halfback. He's cool. He's calm. He can make great decision make. He's great at decision making. So for me, I just think Nick Martin has all of those attributes which will allow him to successfully pull off that Nick Dacos 2.0 role. So for me, yes, Nick Martin's a lock god. He's in my midfield, and come round 7, he's going to be in my back line.
Yeah,
nice.
He's going to be a good watch and see player. We'll kind of roll through these a little bit. Hey, VR, how you doing, mate?
How's it going, mate? Thanks for coming on. Need to put the little man to bed. Good night. Send our best regards. He's going to sleep very easy tonight, knowing that we still remember his prize. He's going to go to the football. He's going to have some fun. And it's so glad you could come along, man. Really appreciate your time.
Where did I miss it? There's a quick question about Kitty Coleman was one that just getting a bit flagged. It really feels like Coleman. We've gone through it on other live streams as well, but without Daniel Rich in the position, I think he averaged like an 82, and for his price, it's just not worth it. I don't know what else is happening in that back line. Yes, he had a very, very good grand final game, like no doubt. But during the regular season, I think he averaged like an 82 when Daniel Rich wasn't in the team. So does that change? Does that not change? For a speculative pick, it's a lot of money to spend on him. When you're
It
basically
is.
picking premiums or rookies, there's not really many, you're not forced to pick mid prices in the backline this year.
Yeah, I don't think you need to pick mid prices in the backline. I agree. He's a great player. He's silky. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think the way he plays the game, the way Brisbane moved the ball out of defense last year is going to be sustainable. Last year, yeah, he managed to play all the games, but the previous years before that, he's really struggled with injury, especially soft tissue injuries, which are always a worry. It's not like they were the accidental collision ones. That's just unlucky. But the injuries that he suffered in the past have been hammies, have been calves, and that's a little bit. It's a little bit worrying, I think. Uh,
Yeah.
just because he played all the games last year doesn't mean he's going to play all the games this year, right? He could have been lucky. He could get unlucky this year. And personally, I just don't think Brisbane are going to play that sort of slow style out of the back line because they played really slow. He took a lot of marks. I mean, 10 marks and 8 marks in that grand final, 8 marks in the grand final. They were switching the ball. They were playing slow. They were trying to spread Collingwood wide, playing at the MCG. I don't think Brisbane are going to play that way moving forward. They fell short because they didn't take the game on enough, I feel. And I just don't think they're going to continue. Of course, you can always reach out to DR. He's obviously the Brisbane expert, or you can reach out to Benny Boy from Supercoach Insider, another gun Brisbane supporter. But I think he's too risky to start. I just don't think there's a reason for it, Matt.
Yeah, I think so as well. If the only reason you would pick him is if he comes out and just dominates the preseason games. We get to look at Brisbane in round 0, which is a huge thing because it's more than just your normal cool. They've done an intra club or they've done like practice matches where it doesn't even count. Like in this year is perfect. We get a free look at a lot of players. That'd be the only reason why I'd probably see him and pick him really.
Yeah.
I don't know how much longer we're going to spend, guys, because we've got to record some more videos for everybody. So let's plow through a few more of the comments. If you've got something you want to say, jump on. No dramas, but I don't think we're going to spend that much longer left on the live stream.
No, probably not. It's 9 out of 10. We sort of were planning to finish up at 9 o'clock, but yeah, rip to that idea. So
that's all right.
Well, thank you. It's thanks to you guys engaging. Ultimately, this is the reason why we do these live streams, guys. But yeah, Rob, as I was saying, I love Caddy. He's very exciting, very eye-catching. In that last match sim that we played, initially started on the weaker team. Unfortunately, really didn't have too much of a chance of it. As soon as we decided to make a little swap and have him play for the stronger team, he's taken a mark on the lead and kicked the goal in the first 5 minutes. He's a very exciting prospect, and he will do well, of course, dependent on how well Essendon does, how well we can get the ball to him. He is a mobile key forward at the end of the day. I don't think he's going to venture too far out away from goal, though. He's going to be in that forward 50. So if you reckon Essendon is going to perform pretty decently well, we're going to get the ball inside forward 50 a good number of times, and he's certainly willing to go for it. He was willing to fly and take a screamer. But if it comes down to the Bombers, really, if you reckon the Bombers can come out strong to start the year, then you could get a lot of supply, which means more goals, which means fast cash gen. If you think the Bombers are going to struggle this year, especially early on, with pretty tough fixture, I think, to start the season, then I would probably stay clear. The only key forward that I'm willing to entertain are Aaron Cadman, Tom Lynch, Jesse Hogan. I know it's crazy, but Jesse Hogan's got North Melbourne with no key defenders, and he's got West Coast, who every half hour are getting another injury. So those could be, I think those are the only real key forwards I have any confidence in starting, to be honest.
Fair enough. Matt, So yeah, one of the big trends we've seen in the last couple of years in Supercoach has been the move from picking these bargain basement 123, 117K players to your more consistent guys who might be a little bit more expensive. As long as we can kind of see, oh no, this is not the one. As long as we can kind of see that the players have a role in the 23, have a role in the 22, are going to be able to play a lot of games. I think a lot of people are moving from going super cheap and being a lot more comfortable with actually picking these type of players. So 100% go for your Gibcus. He's had history before. He's played before. He's going to play again. Same with Roberts. Same with Sweet. Same with Finn McRae. There's probably a couple of others in there as well. People spending up for a Darcy Wilson, your first round players as well. Gone are the days, I think, in Supercoach where it was super expensive premiums and fill the rest of my team with 117. Because 2 reasons. I think development in AFL has maybe not dropped a little bit, but with the reduced numbers in the teams, I think there's been a bit of an impact on that. And maybe developing guys who've played 1 or 2 games before versus just starting flat. And also, hey, if we're getting all this really good preseason coverage on these players, do that. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's follow down.
Sorry, I'm reading something else.
Sorry, Big J, what's your take on Sheasel? I love Sheasel. He's a very, very good player. He's a very nice person. But for me, it's just role. If he comes out and be like, cool, Sheasel, backline again, plays a little bit of mid, does some nice contested work, fantastic. Ultimate pick straight away. He can even go in the forward line, kick a goal. But it's more being relegated to the forward position that might see a little bit of a price drop for us, which I think is scaring a lot of people away. But as, Zach Fisher comes out injured, there's a spot for him in that back line. North Melbourne's back line as well is very fluid at the moment. And there's a lot of players in that team. There's probably 15 players in North Melbourne's back line who are all vying for a spot. There's players like Goda and Bergman and Jackson Archer, all these guys who are fit at the moment who played last year in those positions. And then you've got your Sheasel, then you've got your Zach Fisher coming in and McKercher, plus all the other tools who have got to come in as well. So there's so many spots that are trying to be filled by not many players. Sorry, the other way around. There's not many spots that are going to be trying to fill by so many players that at the moment it's really hard to gauge who's going to be VFL and who's not. Sheasel is going to play I don't think he ever plays VFL, ever. But at the moment, it's just a bit of a tricky of where he plays, which is kind of what's putting me off the pick a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, there's no denying his talent. Again, it's...
No, of course not.
We're, as we've said multiple times, if we're not selecting someone, it's not because we don't think they're a good player. The reason why we don't select someone is because they might not have a great role. They might have potential role, but they're sharing it with other players. Yeah. We're not looking to select the best players in the league. We're looking to select players that can give us decent scoring in a particular way. And if they get it done in a specific way, like an intercept defender, we want them to take a lot of intercept marks, because intercept marks, especially if they're contested in nature, can net you around 8 points. If you haven't watched that our video with Jaden, which breaks down the points, head on over and watch that, because there are certain acts in certain parts of the ground which are scored more. And we want to pick the players who do all of their things in those zones in that way. It just gives you maximum value per possession, per football act. And they're the ones that are going to get you the most scores. So nothing against Sheasel. The guy's going to be... He might win a Brownlow one day. I wouldn't be surprised at all. But does that mean that he becomes a viable Supercoach pick? If he has the role, then yes. If not, it doesn't make him any less of a player.
Yeah. I mean, and we still had him in our top 8 power rankings for the defense as well.
Correct.
So he's definitely hey, we can put him in our team. But to start with, I think you really need to start the super locks. And I'm just not sure on him right at the moment.
Yep, exactly.
5 more minutes, guys. Get your questions in if you want. Otherwise, we can save them for next Monday.
Correct. But yeah, I think we might just call it a night now, to be honest.
Okay.
We've got some other things that we got in the works, guys. Obviously, the longer we keep it, the harder it is for us to get things done for you. And obviously, we want to pump out a lot of content for you guys. You know our slogan: we do the hard work so you don't have to. And love taking your suggestions on things that you'd like us to do. You can message us on Twitter or on Facebook, as you can see up there above. You can engage in any of our community posts that we get on the channel as well whenever we ask you guys for what sort of content you want to see. This is always going to be a regular feature, the Monday night streams, but we're also looking to perhaps have maybe some less streams and more video content for you guys to really answer the burning questions that you really want answered, so that we can put in the appropriate research required.
Yeah, definitely. If you guys haven't already, jump on our Supercoach League. There's a video up on the channel just kind of explaining what you need to do, what the group code is. Definitely jump on that. And keep an eye out. We've got a few interesting things happening. This year we might have some tipping. We could potentially have a community team popping up as well that we're definitely going to keep you guys involved with as well. And some more videos, mate. We've got like 8 videos in the works for this week. So yeah, don't worry about those.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, make sure you subbed. If you can drop us a like on the stream as well, would greatly appreciate it. So that we can sort of pop up in the algorithm and pop up for other people who maybe haven't seen our stuff. It would be awesome if you guys, by you guys spreading the love and doing a really simple thing like hitting a like or hitting a subscribe, it goes a long way to increasing the size of our community, getting more people to come in, having a bit more banter, a bit more laughs, and it certainly makes the game a lot more enjoyable for all of us. So massive love and admiration and thanks to all of you guys for coming in and watching. I am going to be over on Supercoach God's channel tomorrow in his live stream in terms of reacting and reviewing people's teams that they've sent in. So if you haven't subscribed to Supercoach God, give him a subscription over there and head on over to that. And if you haven't submitted your teams, you can send them to him. He's in there in the comments already, so very easy to go and find him.
Yeah, definitely worth a sub as well if you guys haven't already. All right,
at 8:30 p.m.
8:30 done. All right, we'll catch you later, guys. We'll see you. Stay tuned for all the content. You know how we like to schedule it out, so you can't miss anything. If not, we'll see you next Monday. Tell your friends, subscribe to the channel.
100%, guys. Here at the Center Bounce, we do the hard work so that you guys don't have to. Thank you for a wonderful 2 hours.
Catch you later.